Hello everyone, welcome. Today I just want to make a quick video, I hope it's not going to take too long, about the new change that CIG made it into this patch, the 320, where Gladius has only 200 HP into the nose, and after the HP on the nose gets to 0, the damage gets transferred to the body, which is 2500 HP, compared to the arrow, which has 2300 nose and 2300 body. Let's talk about it. So, I want to make a few points of why this change is bad to nerf the Gladius to only 200 HP nose. And if that nose reaches 0, the body will get damaged from the nose. Compared to the arrow, who still has 2300 HP nose and 2300 body. So as you can see in the picture from here, the nose of the Gladius is 3 times larger than the nose of the arrow, right? Which means the arrow can be damaged only in this section, and the section this is the body, right, kind of roughly, while the Gladius can be damaged in this section and this section of the body, right? Now, why is this a bad change? In 1v1 you may not feel like there is a big difference, but it is there, because while you may be able to fight an arrow player nose to nose and damage his cockpit, the arrow will feel like it's way weaker, but it is not the case. It is an unrealistic standard, because you in a fight will not sit still and the shots will be dealt here and here most of the time. An arrow can spread now the damage to tick damage from the nose and body, even if the Gladius has 2 more shields. The arrow will be more tanky, and let me explain why. It's because the arrow currently has a 1 less shield, but has a trick up its sleeve, which grants an equal amount of shield as a passive, let's say, right? Due to its smaller size, currently the arrow can evade shots by its own existence and just managing a bit of range. An arrow over 400 meters distance, it is much harder to hit than a Gladius at 400 distance. And guess what? The Gladius can get hit even at 800 to 1000 meters, right? Much easier than an arrow. This is the hidden passive that CIG did not take into account, and it will lead to everybody just switching to the arrow at the moment. Okay? Besides this, arrow actually has the best weapon placement in the game, or one of the best, because naturally the arrow actually has weapons here and these two. Naturally, it can hit, as you can see, the nose of the Gladius, which means even if the Gladius before had 2000 more HP into the nose, it was equal as it is now, right? Because the arrow has 1 shield but way smaller size, but the Gladius has 2 shields but way bigger size. In a nose-to-nose fight, it was equal, actually, because the Gladius is way easier to hit in a single spot compared to the arrow, which can spread the damage more easily due to its smaller size, and the Gladius most of the time can actually miss shots just because the guns are placed outside of the hitbox, as you can see here. I want to add that the arrow has no oversteer on pitch, yaw and roll, which makes it way easier to aim compared to the Gladius. The arrow also has more firepower, which makes up for the fact that it has 1 less shield. Also, when it comes to maneuverability, the arrow can top the Gladius due to its higher response rate to its thrusters compared to the Gladius. Now, let's talk even beyond the 1v1s, because these are kind of meaningless. Let's talk about actual battles, where we are gonna speak about why the Gladius was maybe a bit superior, but the arrow still had its own advantages. So as we said, arrow has a passive and a shield, smaller side and a shield, but Gladius has 2 shields but a bigger size, right? Now, the arrow still has double the HP compared to the Gladius when it comes to squadron battles if you take it into the right way, is that if the Gladius loses the shields, right? And the arrow loses its shields, somebody may hit the arrow's nose, while somebody else may hit another player may hit the arrow's body, making that the arrow has 50% more HP compared to the Gladius, where if you drop the shield on the Gladius and somebody hits the nose, which has only 200 HP, and somebody else hits the body, suddenly the Gladius will die 2 times faster than the arrow. Both ships can survive in a squadron battle, but for the Gladius, it will be the unoptimal choice to do at this time since you get hit from multiple angles. Now, why did I say that the Gladius is a bit superior in a squadron battle? Well, taking into account the arrow shield, one shield, plus passive, which is the smaller size, which in a squadron battle makes it harder to hit, compared to the Gladius in a squadron battle where it had 2 shields but a wider body, the current nerf still it is unnecessary. Because while the Gladius can regen that shield, Arrow can also dodge shots from 2 encounters or more by its passive, while the Gladius had to move a bit more. The reason Gladius was a bit superior in its own way compared to the Arrow was because the Gladius had just a bit more time to react compared to the Arrow due to the one more shield. But that does not mean the Gladius was overpowered, because at the end of the day, the Gladius has the body 2 times larger, and it is the main target in a squadron battle rather than the nose, because the squadron battle takes place in multiple angles with multiple factors. So before this change, everything was balanced. You could have used the arrow, but you had to pay more attention in squadron battles because you had to take advantage of the smaller size, right? And be very careful to not get your shield dropped so you don't get uh, killed or stay in place and get killed very easily, while the Gladius had just a bit more time to react and tank a bit, but it also was a bigger target, which when getting away will have also made you take more damage because you cannot just dodge fire by the passive like the arrow has. Yet, if built correctly, the Gladius can have a bit more Gs, which can maybe make the difference in squadron battles compared to the arrow, which its Gs are locked to a standard number. I foresee that everybody will just swap to the arrow for the moment and will screw the stats of CIG and they will just revert it. Because it's a change made on stats on a paper, not on actual gameplay. It needs to be reverted.